Paid just 20 to sabotage a blind date, she unexpectedly captivated a millionaire CEO revealed. Rain pelted the streets of Chicago like 1,000 restless hearts tapping against the cold pavement. Angela wiped down a sticky counter at the diner, her hair damp from the storm, and her heart heavy with the weight of her father's medical bills. At 29, she buried herself in long shifts, juggling the responsibilities of her single mom and younger brother while dreaming of a day when their struggles would drown in the city's vibrant pulse. She never should have taken Kelly's call, but the idea of quick cash lit a spark of rebellion. Just 20, on sabotage Caleb's blind date. Kelly's laughter echoed in her ear, bubbling with mischief. Angela hesitated, the thought of ruining the date of someone so wealthy felt wrong. Yet, visions of money for groceries weighed on her conscience. Fine, she sighed, the chirp in her voice belied by the worry etched across her brow. Dressed in jeans and a t-shirt that showcased her witty sarcasm, Angela sat at the dimly lit cafe table, her heart racing with anxiety. When Caleb walked in, he oozed charisma, tall, sharp-dressed, with an easy smile that unsettled her. Their banter began as she awkwardly attempted to fit her sabotaging role. But the laughter that flowed from their exchanges caught her off guard. Instead of chaos, a connection sparked a shared humor that reminded her of sunlit days spent with family, free from worry. By the end of that unexpected dinner, Angela found herself enchanted. Caleb, so different from her life, opened up about his passion for philanthropy, especially in mental health. The way he spoke, full of vulnerability and intention, made her pause. "You know," he said with a serious glance, "true wealth is helping others." Her heart fluttered with something new hope. Just as she started to set preconceived notions aside, an unwelcome twist hit her like a jolt of cold wind. Overhearing a snippet of conversation between Caleb and his friend, she caught whispers that twisted her stomach. "She's probably just into you for the money," the friend quipped, laughter spilling forth. Her chest tightened. That sentence echoed beyond the diner, digging into her perception of worth and relationships. Angela's mind raced. Was she just another conquest? The very thought threatened to shatter the bond they had begun to build. She stood at the crossroads, longing for a future that seemed just out of her reach. But with her family's struggles looming larger, could she accept this curiosity about Caleb? Could she risk everything for the chance at something more? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Standing by the counter, blinking back tears, Angela realized this wasn't just a blind date gone wrong, it was a foundation for something that could challenge everything she believed. Love, privilege, and family responsibilities collided in a heartbeat, leaving her at a precipice. Would she allow herself to reach for something more, or retreat into the familiar struggles of her life? As the rain continued to fall, the shimmering city lights blinked through the haze, reflecting her own internal turmoil. Angela took a deep breath, letting the scent of coffee permeate through her senses as she tried to steady her racing heart. She felt like a tightrope walker suspended between two worlds: her mundane life at the diner filled with worries and bills, and this exhilarating connection with Caleb that sparked a flicker of hope. But the fear that she might be just another trophy in his lavish life clawed at her. "Hey, Angela." Caleb's voice broke through her thoughts, sending butterflies fluttering in her stomach. "You okay? You seem a bit distracted." His genuine concern wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, and she couldn't help but smile, even through her confusion. "Just thinking about my family, I guess," she replied, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The truth felt heavier than she anticipated. "Family's everything," he said with a nod, leaning forward slightly. His eyes sparkled with sincerity. "If it helps, I know what it's like to want to provide and struggle." My parents worked hard to keep a roof over my head. They sacrificed so much. Angela felt the walls she had built around her start to crack. Was it possible for someone like him to relate to her? He had wealth and privilege glimmering around him like golden light. Yet, here he was, sharing a piece of his own history, threading his experience in with hers. Wow, I didn't expect that, she confessed, her heart racing with unfamiliar vulnerability. Caleb chuckled softly. I guess we all carry our stories, huh? What about yours? What's the biggest hurdle you're facing? The question hung between them, heavy with potential, yet tinged with nervousness. She glanced down at her hands, the calloused fingertips telling their own story of grit and grind. It's just, life can be really tough sometimes. My dad's health has taken a toll on my family, and every day feels like a balancing act. Some days I'm not sure how I'll manage it all. His gaze softened, and Angela felt tears prickle her eyes. I can only imagine how hard that must be. If you ever need someone to talk to or I don't know, help figuring things out. I'm here, he offered, his voice low and comforting. Taking a leap into this unexpected openness felt risky, but Caleb's words held a sincerity that stirred something deep within her. Thank you. That means a lot, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet, as they exchanged smiles, two hearts momentarily knit together. A shadow of doubt crept back in. Maybe Caleb just felt pity for her or was looking for some kind of distraction from his perfect life. The laughter of his friend echoed in her mind, mocking her growing affection. The moment stretched, and Angela felt herself standing at a crossroad again, emotions swirling. Would she continue to push Caleb away, convinced their worlds were too different? Or would she risk it all and dive into this connection, possibly finding strength in vulnerability? Before Angela could answer her own question, a sudden noise jolted her back to reality. An argument erupted across the cafe as a couple clashed over something petty. The din of voices pulled her attention, and in that chaos, she caught Caleb's eye, a silent question lingering between them. The door chimed as a new couple walked in, laughing and soaking up the ambience. The atmosphere shifted, and Angela sensed the tension from their earlier chat melting slightly. But it also opened the door to uncertainty. If she leaned into this with Caleb, with any potential, could she handle the repercussions? With her pulse quickening again, a new thought sparkled to life. What would it mean to let someone else in? What would love cost her? As she clenched her jaw in determination, she was suddenly acutely aware of how fleeting moments like this could be. And just as she resolved to take a chance on whatever this might become, a startling realization crashed against her. A familiar face stood in the cafe entrance, someone from her past, someone that threatened to pull the ground right out from under her. What would happen now? Would this twist urge her to step back? Or would it fuel her fight to find love in the most unexpected places? Angela's heart dropped as she recognized the face standing in the cafe doorway. It was Mark, the guy from her high school who had once swept through her life like a whirlwind, filled with charm and laughter, but just as quickly left her in a stinging trail of heartbreak. He hadn't changed much in the years since, still the same wavy hair, that infectious smile she once adored, and the confidence that somehow made her knees weak. How could he possibly be here now, in this moment? Caleb's brow furrowed slightly, concern shadowing his features as he noticed the drastic change in Angela's expression. She was frozen, caught between the past and the present, the warmth of their conversation dimming as the reality of her history loomed nearer. Angela? His voice cut through her fog, but she couldn't peel her gaze away from Mark. He looked around the cafe, spotting her, and for a moment, everything froze. It was as if time itself had come to a standstill, and the bustling chatter faded into a dull hum. Hey! Angela! Long time no see. Mark called out, his voice bright and friendly. The chill of recognition washed over her, blending nostalgia with discomfort. She barely mustered the courage to respond. Mark, hi, she finally managed, her heartbeat loud in her ears. She could see his eyes narrowing slightly, assessing her like he always used to. What are you doing here? He asked, casually strolling toward her. She realized she was still standing with Caleb, who now looked a blend of confused and cautious. "She's with me," Caleb said, his tone protective as he positioned himself slightly in front of her. Angela felt a wave of gratitude for his presence but also a flutter of guilt. The dynamics had suddenly shifted, and a gust of tension filled the air. Mark raised his eyebrows. "Oh, I didn't know you were out with someone." The words were casual, but the undercurrent of surprise was palpable. Angela knew he was recalling their past, the brief spark that once ignited between them. "Yeah, I work here," she said defensively, as if she needed to stake her claim on the life she built after he left. "And Caleb's just a friend." A friend, but suddenly that label felt incredibly flimsy. "Right, just a friend," Mark echoed, a hint of mockery playing on his lips. "Well, you've come a long way since high school." There was an edge to his tone that made Angela's skin crawl, as if he looked at her like an old artifact he'd forgotten about. "Actually, I'm doing pretty well," she shot back, surprising herself with the fierceness of her words. She could see Caleb's eyes widen, taking in the confrontation, and that steadied her. Maybe she did owe it to herself to show her growth, to stand tall against the ghosts of her past. "Good to hear," Mark said, shrugging off her defiance. "You know, I've been thinking we should catch up sometime. It'd be fun." The suggestion hung in the air, thick with implications, and Angela's mind raced. Could she risk stepping back into those memories? Could anyone expect nothing but superficial banter from someone who had once turned her life upside down? "No thanks, Mark," she replied, her voice firm. "Some things are better left in the past." The words hung between them, charged with the weight of unresolved feelings. But as Angela glanced at Caleb, who now wore a supportive smile, she felt a surge of empowerment. She wasn't that scared girl anymore, she was someone who could choose whom to let into her life. But Mark wasn't done. "Just know that if you ever need a ride back to the top, I'm there," he said, a knowing smile creeping across his face as if he held all the cards. As Mark walked away, Angela felt Caleb's steady presence beside her. The cafe was overflowing with laughter and chatter, but all she could hear was the familiar pounding of her heartbeat, both exhilarated and anxious. "Are you okay?" Caleb asked, concern etching his features. "I think so. I just wasn't expecting him," she replied, her voice now barely above a whisper. "But maybe it was time to confront my past." And as she spoke the words, a new realization dawned on her. Allowing someone from her past back into her life could either crush her spirit or unite her strength in ways she couldn't yet fathom. Yet in the flood of emotions, another thought crept in the world of possibilities that lay ahead with Caleb. But could she truly explore that potential when shadows from the past still lingered, with uncertainty still gripping her heart? Angela felt the tug of destiny drawing her toward Caleb even as remnants of her past continued to lurk nearby. Would stepping boldly into the future help her forget or grant her the closure she craved? The cafe's door chimed once more, pulling her from her thoughts. Who else would walk in, and would they hold the power to shift everything again? Angela let out a shaky breath, the tension slowly ebbing away as Mark's figure disappeared outside. The clamor of voices swirled around her, yet her thoughts felt quieter now, like remnants of a storm that had just passed. She turned her attention back to Caleb, unsure how to read the unspoken words in his eyes. "You were amazing," he said softly, a hint of admiration coloring his voice. "How did you manage to stand your ground like that?" "I didn't think it would be so hard," she confessed, her hands fidgeting nervously. "It's been years. But seeing him again, it stirred something deep inside me." Caleb studied her, his expression serious. "You're stronger than you realize. You confronted a part of your life most people wouldn't. That takes guts." Her heart swelled at his words. She could see the sincerity reflected in his eyes. It felt comforting and raw, making her yearn for more moments like this, moments where she wasn't just the girl Mark had known, but someone so much more. Yet a small voice in her head whispered caution, reminding her how quickly things could shift. As the cafe began to buzz back into life, she glanced outside, half expecting Mark to reappear. But he didn't. Instead, she felt an odd mix of relief and disappointment. Was she really ready to close that chapter for good? "Let's grab a seat," Caleb suggested, pulling her back from her thoughts. He led her to a cozy corner table and settled in, the warm ambience of the cafe wrapping around them like a comfortable blanket. As she sipped her coffee, she felt an unexpected lightness in her chest, reminders of her earlier apprehension beginning to fade away. "Tell me about your day," Caleb said, leaning forward, clearly interested. His presence was refreshing, a welcome distraction. Looping her fingers around the warm mug, she began to share her day, recounting stories and laughs. Each word felt like a step further away from the shadows of her past and deeper into the sunlit present. As she talked, she noticed how Caleb's smile was infectious. It lit up his entire face and made her realize that she had missed moments like this, a connection that felt genuine, uncomplicated. A few cozy moments passed before she felt the chatter around them shift. Suddenly, the door swung open again, and a commotion broke the tranquil atmosphere. Heads turned, whispers spread, and Angela felt her heart seize as another familiar face stepped inside, the unmistakable figure of Sarah, her old friend from high school. "Angela!" Sarah called, her voice slicing through the crowd. She had come accompanied by a tall man, impeccably dressed and exuding an air of authority. The kind that made Angela's breath hitch. "Hey!" Angela waved, her heart racing. This wasn't just a casual meetup. Sarah had a tendency to show up where trouble lurked. She felt apprehensive but curious about what this unexpected reunion would bring. Caleb's eyes flicked toward Angela, gauging her reaction to the new arrival. "What is she doing here?" Caleb asked, eyebrows furrowing slightly. "Not sure," Angela replied, feeling a wave of uncertainty wash over her. There was something about Sarah's presence that felt like a storm gathering on the horizon. As Sarah approached, her gaze darted between Angela and Caleb, a glint of mischief in her eyes. "I just heard you ran into Mark. I thought you might need some moral support," she said, feigning nonchalance. Before Angela could respond, the well-dressed man beside Sarah spoke up, "And this is my associate, Michael, who just might have an opportunity that's too good to pass up." He smirked, leaning closer as if sharing a secret. Angela's stomach twisted. Was this just a coincidence, or was it something deeper? She could feel the momentum of her life shifting once again, like a ship navigating through uncertain waters. What kind of opportunity could Michael be suggesting? And how would it tie into everything that had just unfolded? With questions churning in her mind, Angela realized one thing: the universe was weaving connections that may lead her back to the very crossroads she thought she had just escaped. Could she handle the turbulence ahead? As the cafe's atmosphere thickened with unspoken possibilities and impending choices, she knew she was caught in a web beyond her control. Would embracing this unexpected twist lead her further away from her past, or would it draw her back into its tangled grip? Angela felt an uncomfortable knot tightening in her stomach. The room, once warm and inviting, shifted as Sarah and Michael approached. The muted clatter of coffee cups and low chatter faded into a dull hum that surrounded her, thickening the air like fog. "Angela, you look good." Sarah beamed, though there was something disingenuous in her tone, a practiced sweetness that set off warning bells in Angela's mind. "Can we sit?" "Sure," Angela replied hesitantly, her eyes darting back to Caleb, who wore a look that mirrored her own unease. He didn't move but remained at the edge of his seat, ready to intervene if needed. As Sarah slid into the booth beside Michael, she shot Angela a quick sidelong glance that screamed of hidden agendas. "Honestly, I didn't expect to find you here after everything," she continued, making it clear she wasn't talking about casual pleasantries. Michael shifted closer, his crisp shirt pressing against the table. "I came at the perfect time," he interjected, his tone smooth. "I'm in need of someone special for a project, someone with a deep understanding of the community. Sarah mentioned you might fit the bill." Angela raised an eyebrow, caught between confusion and curiosity. What do you mean by project? Michael leaned back slightly, assessing her reaction. We're launching a new initiative to support local businesses in this area. We need a PR representative, someone who can connect the dots between the community and our upcoming campaign. Angela frowned, trying to analyze the situation. It sounded like an opportunity, but it had an undercurrent that felt off. And why me? She asked, searching his face for sincerity. Because, Sarah piped in, you have a way with people. And who better than someone who has been through what many of them have? You can relate. The implication sank into her like a stone, igniting a flicker of anger. It felt like a calculated move, using her past struggles as a way to manipulate her into taking on this role. I'm not sure if I'm interested, honestly, she said, her voice steady but firm. Michael's smile faltered briefly. Think about it. You could have the chance to make a real change and help people. Angela held his gaze, feeling the weight of his encouragement and bearing the weight of her own hesitation. Could she trust him? Could she take on something that might pull her back to the very thing she had been trying to escape? As silence filled the space between them, Caleb leaned in, his voice low enough just for her. You don't owe them anything, Angela. If it feels wrong, trust that instinct. Angela nodded, grateful for Caleb's support, but her mind was racing. Would this lead to something meaningful, or would it just unravel the progress she had made since moving on from Mark? Let me think about it, she finally said, standing firm. Sarah's eyes narrowed, but Michael simply nodded, accepting her words with a seamless charm, as if he had anticipated her reluctance. As they moved on to lighter topics, Angela couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing at a crossroads again. Each conversation danced around threats and opportunities, wrapping her in uncertainty. Before long, the cafe's vibrancy replaced the tension, but Angela felt a deeper heaviness, a sense that she had opened a door better left closed. There seemed to be more at stake than just a job opportunity. What if this project was the very thing that would lead her back toward Mark, or worse, drag her back into memories she was not ready to confront? The weight of decisions loomed over her like an unsolved puzzle, each piece with the potential to change everything. As their discussions churned, an unrelenting thought crept into her mind. Would embracing this path bring her closer to peace, or plunge her back into chaos? Just as she decided to shift her focus back to the conversation at hand, a sudden crash erupted from the door. Angela's heart jolted as a new presence stormed in, demanding attention. Who was this, and how would they add to the unfolding chaos in her life? The door slammed open with a force that sent a few chairs skidding across the wooden floor, and the once cozy cafe was eclipsed by the figure of a tall man. His dark hair was tousled, his jacket flapping slightly as he strode in. He had an air of command that demanded instant attention. Angela's heart raced, her instincts buzzing with curiosity. He paused, scanning the room like a hawk searching for its prey, his deep-set eyes locking onto hers. For a split second, the world around them softened. Angela felt a jolt, a mix of surprise and intrigue. Who was he? Sorry, folks, he said, his voice rich and smooth, slicing through the hum of conversations. I just needed a quick escape. He exhaled, as if he had been holding his breath. Angela instinctively leaned forward, drawn in by his presence. She could almost feel the energy radiating off him, a pulsing wave of confidence that set her heart racing. Sarah, seated next to Michael, frowned and whispered, "Great timing." "Who is that?" Caleb asked quietly, his gaze fixed on the newcomer. "The new investor for our project, I think," Angela murmured, her brow furrowing as frustration crept in again. Perhaps this was another twist in the tangled web they were weaving around her. As the man sauntered over to the counter, he spoke to the barista with a certain charm that made the shop fall silent. Angela could hear the muffled exchange about orders, but her attention couldn't stray. Instead, her mind spun with possibilities. Was he here for business, or perhaps searching for something else entirely? He seems intense, Caleb observed, arching an eyebrow. Angela nodded, her focus unwavering. There was something about him that felt magnetic. Suddenly, the pull led her thoughts back to Michael, who was still talking but lacked the spark that this new arrival ignited. Once the stranger had his coffee in hand, he turned and locked eyes with Angela again. This time, his look was intentional, a subtle invitation that made her heart pound harder. She felt the urge to gauge his motives, but then, a sly smile tugged at the corners of his lips. What was he thinking? "Looks like someone caught your eye," Caleb teased softly, nudging her shoulder. Angela couldn't help but roll her eyes, but her heart was racing nonetheless. Just as she was about to respond, the man approached their booth, his stride confident yet casual. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, in a tone that felt both respectful and curious. Angela's breath hitched. Before she could finish her thought, Michael interjected, "We were just discussing our community initiative." His voice dripping with practiced professionalism, but the tension in the air was palpable. The newcomer raised an eyebrow, amusement dancing in his eyes. "Community initiative?" His voice was playful, as if he was about to dig in deeper. "Sounds fascinating." "Actually, Angela began, but Michael cut in again, this time with a little more urgency. "This is Angela. She's considering taking a role in the project." The stranger's gaze shifted to Angela, a curious intensity igniting in his expression. "Your name fits, Angela. It has a spark. What role would you be taking?" Angela felt her cheeks flush under his scrutiny. "I'm still deciding," she said carefully, weighing the implications of revealing too much. "Deciding, huh?" he replied with a knowing smile. "Tough choice. You could help shine a light on this area. Or," he leaned in closer, "you could walk into the unknown. It can be exhilarating, you know." His words lingered in the air, setting her heart racing with excitement and apprehension. She felt trapped in the expectations around her, the project, the past, the chaos. This new chapter felt daunting, yet this man radiated possibility. "Sometimes the unknown is where faith grows," he added, his eyes dancing with a spark of mischief. "Makes for the best stories." Angela found herself intrigued by his presence, but alongside it came an avalanche of doubts. Was this intriguing mystery coupled with a chance to push forward a resolution, or just another distraction? As she pondered her path, she suddenly felt a wave of renewed urgency. Could this encounter shape her future, or was it merely a fleeting moment in the chaos? With the weight of her past still heavy on her shoulders, one question loomed larger than the rest: what was she willing to risk for the chance to find herself again? As the cafe buzzed around them, Angela sensed the clock ticking down to a life-altering moment, one that might just lead her right back to where she started or thrust her into a new adventure entirely. Angela's thoughts raced as the stranger smiled, the weight of his gaze pressing against her like a warm breeze. There was something in the way he held himself, the confidence that was both unnerving and enticing. She could feel Michael's anxious energy beside her, a grounding yet distinctly uncomfortable presence. "Let me guess," the newcomer said, a playful gleam in his eyes. "You're leaning towards walk into the unknown, aren't you?" He leaned back casually, seemingly unfazed by the moment's tension. Angela felt a knot form in her stomach. I don't know," she stammered, grappling with the truth of his words. A mixture of excitement and fear bubbled inside her, a familiar feeling she hadn't faced in a while. "It's a good plan," he continued, his voice steady. "Listening to that whisper inside you can really change things. Or it can lead to disaster," Michael interjected, his tone sharp, the underlying current of protectiveness evident. Angela felt a pang of irritation. Why was he trying to steer her back into the safe lane? "Sometimes disaster is just another form of adventure," the stranger shot back, glancing at Michael with an amused smirk. "You can't plan everything, can you?" The banter piqued the interest of a few nearby customers, who shifted in their seats to catch a glimpse of the unfolding drama. Angela looked from Michael to their unexpected guest, the grip of uncertainty squeezing her heart tighter. "Listen, I appreciate the encouragement," she said finally, meeting the stranger's gaze head-on. But I have responsibilities. This project isn't just about excitement, it's about people's lives. Exactly, he nodded, his expression serious now. Which is why it's so crucial for you to be fully in. Not just physically, but emotionally. If you're not there, how can you expect anyone else to be? Angela blinked, taken aback. It was as if he saw through her carefully constructed facade. In his eyes, she felt an expectant challenge, pushing her to confront her deepest fears. She wrestled with the urge to dive deeper into this conversation, to learn more about the man who had burst into her life so suddenly. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice firmer than it had been moments before. "Evan," he replied, extending a hand across the table. "And who I am is not nearly as exciting as what you could be." As he held her gaze, Angela's heart quickened with new possibilities. This Evan was urging her to dislodge her carefully curated life and leap into something uncertain, something exhilarating. But what if the leap didn't pay off? What if she fell flat on her face? Michael cleared his throat, breaking the spell. "We really should get back to discussing the project," he said, his eyes narrowing slightly. Evan shrugged, his easy smile returning. "Sure. And Angela?" He leaned in once more, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I hope you choose the path that truly calls to you. It's the only one that matters." Angela felt his words like a shiver down her spine. Her pulse raced, the weight of her decision quickly crystallizing amidst the noise of the cafe. The air felt electric, and with every word exchanged, she sensed the stakes were getting higher. Was she really ready to step into the unknown? As Evan settled back in his seat, Angela caught herself searching for an answer in the depths of his eyes. Would she take that leap? Or would she stay shackled to the fears that had held her captive for so long? The moment stretched, and uncertainty loomed large in her mind. Her heart pinged with realization. Stepping forward would mean leaving part of her behind, and that scared her more than she'd like to admit. "Either way, it's time for you to decide," Evan said, almost as if he had read her thoughts. "What will you choose, Angela? The familiar path or a thrilling journey?" Her stomach churned, and a powerful question hung in the air: could she harbor the courage to venture into an uncharted future? And as the cafe's chatter faded momentarily, Angela found herself unable to resist. What awaited her if she took the first step? Would her heart follow, or would it lead her to something she never expected? Angela blinked, feeling the pulse of the cafe's heartbeat quicken around her. Evan's eyes held her, sparking an unexpected fire within. She could practically feel the world twisting, rearranging around her as if waiting for her answer. Michael's presence felt like a brick wall, steady yet suffocating. "You're really serious about this, aren't you?" she finally asked Evan, her voice barely above a whisper. She needed to comprehend why his challenge struck a chord deep within her. "Absolutely," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "Sometimes the most important path is the one that scares us the most." "What's the worst that can happen?" Michael frowned, and Angela could see the worry etched on his face. "The worst? Angela, we've talked about the risks. You've worked hard to build your career. Don't throw that away on a whim." His words were like a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge, yet part of her yearned to leap. She glanced at Evan, who merely shrugged, the hint of a smile still teasing his lips. For a fleeting moment, it felt like he understood her better than anyone else. "Maybe that's just it," she replied, her heart pounding. "I've been so focused on stability that I'm losing sight of what really matters. What if I'm missing out on something incredible?" "Then there's your answer," Evan said softly. He didn't push her, but the intensity of his stare encouraged her to look within. She shivered at the weight of his words, feeling as if they'd resonate long after this encounter. Caught in the emotional whirlwind, Angela could feel Michael's anxiety growing, his fingers drumming against the table, silently pleading for her to reconsider. "I need to think," she said finally, standing abruptly. "I'll be right back." With that, she turned and walked toward the cafe's restroom, avoiding the curious glances of other patrons. Alone in the small space, she gazed at her reflection, feeling both familiar and foreign. Who was she? The responsible planner? Or the risk-taker yearning deep inside to be set free? She splashed cold water on her face, trying to wake up from this surreal moment. The doubts and fears crowded in again, whispering fears of failure and disappointment. And yet, those whispers were disrupted by thoughts of Evan's charisma, the magnetic pull he had. She took a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs and steady her heart. Perhaps Michael was right about safety, but what if she let herself explore the other side just once? When she returned to the main area, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Michael was still at their table, looking more serious than ever, while Evan appeared relaxed, as if he sensed her internal battle. "Hey," she said, her voice steadier now. What if I did take that leap? What if I explored this path?" Michael's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and concern clouding his features. "Angela, think this through. It's not just an adventure, it could cost you everything you've worked for." "We're all defined by our choices, Michael," she countered, finding a surprising strength in her voice. "And I'm tired of living in the shadows of what-ifs." Evan's smile widened, an encouraging glimmer flickering in the depths of his eyes. "You already know what you want deep down. Embrace that feeling." Angela felt the weight of the decision hang heavy in the air. This could be the moment that changed everything for her, a crossroads leading into the unknown. Taking a deep breath, she looked back at Michael. "Maybe this is my path after all." Before he could respond, Evan stood up slightly, moving closer to her. "Then let us map it out together, shall we?" Angela's heart raced with anticipation, the unknown beckoned like a siren. Yet, with every heartbeat pounding against her ribcage, she also wondered, did she really have what it took to embrace this chance? Just as she was about to say yes, a loud crash echoed from the cafe's entrance. All heads turned as the door swung open violently, revealing a figure drenched in rain, clearly flustered and desperate. As the stranger stepped inside and hung their dripping coat on a nearby chair, Angela felt a surge of uncertainty rise again. What unexpected twist awaited her now, and how would it impact the journey she was about to embark on? Angela's pulse quickened as the stranger shook the rain from their hair, droplets flying around the cafe like tiny stars exploding. It felt surreal, like a scene from a movie, but there was nothing polished or pretty about the expression on this newcomer's face. Their eyes danced over the crowd before landing hard on Angela. Sorry. The stranger stammered, holding up a hand as if that could reverse the chaotic entrance. "I didn't mean to." It was a young man, probably in his late 20s, with dark, tousled hair and a worn-out jacket. As he brushed against a nearby table, his finger snagged a coffee cup, sending it tumbling to the floor. The shatter echoed through the cafe, muffled exclamations rising and falling amongst the patrons. Angela glanced at Michael, whose expression had morphed from concern to puzzled annoyance. Evan, meanwhile, had leaned slightly forward, intrigued, his eyes glittering with amusement at the unexpected disruption. "Let me help," Angela said impulsively, taking a step toward the newcomer. No, it's fine. Just a little too much excitement for a rainy day." He laughed awkwardly, his voice warm but edged with embarrassment. He crouched down to pick up the remains of the cup, clearly flustered. Angela knelt beside him, their hands brushing against each other as they gathered the shattered pieces. For a moment, she felt a spark, a flicker of energy that seemed to deflect her inner turmoil. "I'm Jason," he said, his smile shy as he met her gaze, while the rest of the cafe resumed its usual rhythm, faces turning back to their conversations, but Angela could feel the residual tension wrapping around her. "Angela," she offered, a curious smile forming on her lips. "You made quite the entrance." "Yeah, I think my timing needs work," he chuckled, embarrassment creeping into his voice again. "I was in a hurry. Lost track of time and well, you know how it goes." In that instant, several pieces of shattered life aligned. Here was this stranger, stumbling into her world and casting a refreshing light on everything that felt so rigidly planned. In the back of her mind, she could hear Michael's worried voice about the risks, the consequences, a steady drum echoing through her thoughts, but Jason seemed genuinely human in a way that pulled her in. "Are you okay?" she asked, sensing something deeper behind his nervous energy. "You look like you could use a coffee. To go with my disaster?" He laughed, shaking his head, but there was a flicker of gratitude in his expression. "Everyone has their off days," Angela said with surprising confidence, feeling a new sensation envelop her connection. "Thanks, that means a lot. It's been a rough one." His eyes turned serious for a moment. "I just got some bad news about a project I was passionate about." Angela felt her heart tug. "What kind of project?" she asked, able to sense the weight it bore. "Something I've poured my heart into," he admitted. "But it's just too different for my company. I thought they would see the value in it, but well, now I'm sitting here soaked and regretting every decision I made to talk to them." Evan had quietly stepped back, observing the scene unfold, while Michael's tense frown remained. Angela felt a growing urge to soothe Jason's disappointment. There was something raw and honest about him that struck a chord. "Can I offer some encouragement?" she blurted. "Sometimes, taking a risk can lead to something really amazing. You'd be surprised." He met her gaze, an unguarded appreciation dancing in his eyes. "You might be right. Maybe I just need to shake things up a bit, just toss caution to the wind." Angela's heart fluttered. Did he mean what she thought he meant? Her mind raced back to Evan's challenge, and the sudden need to break free from the confines of safety felt intoxicating. Perhaps Jason was right, maybe life was all about moments like these, moments of unexpected truth. Suddenly, she found herself searching Jason's expression, yearning to understand him better, wanting to be part of whatever story he was crafting. "Hey," she said, her voice firm yet soft. "What? If we helped each other? I mean, I need someone to keep me on my toes too." Before Jason could reply, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Angela, are you serious?" It was Michael, his voice a thundercloud hovering ominously over their moment. All eyes turned toward them, the tension thickening like the humid air before a storm. Angela felt a mixture of excitement and dread flood her senses. She looked between Jason and Michael, her heart racing once more at the unfolding drama. What was this new connection about to stir in her heart? And what would Michael say next? The answers loomed as unpredictable as the rain outside. Angela took a deep breath, feeling the weight of choices all around her. The cafe held its breath, the bustle quieted, as Michael's frown deepened, a storm gathering on the horizon. She turned her gaze back to Jason, whose expression mirrored her own mix of excitement and uncertainty. He was a breath of fresh air among the crowd, drawing her toward the unknown. "Listen, I don't mean to interrupt," Michael interjected, his voice laced with concern. "But are you really considering getting involved with him? You barely know him." Angela felt a surge of rebellion. "Michael, sometimes you have to leap into the unknown to discover new opportunities. We can't always stick to what we know." The passion in her voice surprised her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something transformative was unfolding, and she didn't want to hold back. Jason looked between them, eyes wide but intrigued. "I mean, you're right. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut," he said, glancing back at Angela. "I think we could all use a little more spontaneity in our lives." His earnestness brought warmth to her heart. Evan, still observing, nodded in agreement. "He's got a point, Michael. Sometimes serendipity guides us better than meticulous planning ever could. You don't know where it could lead." The hum of excitement enveloped them, like the quiet hum of city life outside. Angela felt invigorated. What's life without a little risk? She challenged, her heart racing with anticipation. "I've spent so long playing it safe, I want more." Michael's brow furrowed deeply, but he remained silent. Angela chose to ignore the unease coiling around her, focusing instead on the thrill of the unknown. "Okay," Jason said, his voice booming with newfound energy. "Let us shake things up. How about we brainstorm ideas over coffee? Maybe something for the community? I know a few local spots that are struggling, and I believe we can turn that around." "Yes." Angela practically erupted, feeling the thrill of collaboration, the merging of ideas, the thought of stepping boldly into the future. Caleb, who had been quietly supportive this whole time, leaned in, genuinely smiling. "I'm in." Angela's heart soared. This was it, their collective moment. They could change lives, including their own together. The dawning of an adventure awaited, vibrant with possibility, but Michael cleared his throat, attempting to reclaim authority over the moment. "Angela, think this through. You've worked hard for what you have. This could be a distraction." She steeled herself, a newfound strength coursing through her veins. "I won't let it be a distraction if I'm choosing it." Jason's eyes sparked, appreciating her resolve. "Exactly. You miss every chance you don't take. If we don't try, we'll never know the impact we could have." The cafe buzzed back to life, the atmosphere shifting, mirroring the excitement of fresh beginnings. As they huddled together, discussing their plans, Angela glanced outside as rain poured down, washed the world anew. Her heart was light. If this was the cost of stepping beyond her boundaries, she was ready for it. Time passed in joyous laughter, sharing ideas, shaping visions. Jason offered fresh perspectives, Evan stood by, encouraging the momentum, while Caleb provided thoughtful insights, reinforcing her burgeoning hope. A collective energy began to pulse around them, unity, aspirations blooming in the damp air. Angela watched as everything she had been longing for settled into place. From heartache to rebirth, she chose connection over fear. Every question that had once haunted her faded into the background, replaced by optimism. Amid the hustle, her phone buzzed, breaking through the magic. It was a text from Kelly. "How did the date with the millionaire go?" Her heart danced. She would tell her all about it. Not the initial sabotage or the uncertainties, but about stepping into her authenticity. Jason caught her eye, giving her an encouraging nod. She realized then that this was the start of her new narrative. It was a character shift, a transformation, not just for her, but for everyone involved. In that vibrant cafe, amongst laughter and support, Angela let her heart unravel. She was ready to embrace love, not just a romantic one, but of her life, her future, her purpose, opening towards new horizons. She knew now this was not just a fleeting moment. It was a promise, a pact with the universe to continue growing, evolving, and forging new paths in a world where uncertainty reshaped brighter tomorrows. As they all gathered, she felt hope wrap around them like a warm blanket as the rain softened outside, a sign of new beginnings. Angela took in a deep breath. "Let us turn dreams into reality," she said, a radiant smile breaking across her face. The cafe erupted in laughter, warmth blooming like vibrant flowers in spring. Their paths intertwined, and the journey was only just beginning. So what will you do? Are you ready to take risks that might change your life for the better? Don't hold back, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support fuels this channel. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. I want to hear from you. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand this journey needs you.